Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scourge of War Waterloo, Episode 10. This one is called No Prisoners. It will be the Imperial Guard attack on Ligny. This is the first division scenario, um, and basically, I decided after doing the brigade scenario wrap up video. There are only 8 brigade scenarios in the game, and that video ended up being 3 hours long, much longer than I thought it would end up being. There are many more division scenarios than brigade scenarios in the game. If I were to do it the way I did it last time with the brigade scenarios and do a division wrap up scenario, it would probably end up being like 10 hours long. So I had to think of something else. And um, I still found that I wasn't very good at commentating over the game while playing it. So what I ended up doing was just recording it while I was playing it, and now I'm just going to overdub the commentary over the video before I upload it to YouTube. So instead of being just the gameplay videos and then a wrap up at the end, I'm going to do the commentary with each scenario, and hopefully I do okay at it or start getting better at it as I do it more. Okay, so this is one of my favorite scenarios in the game. Basically, you play the Imperial Guard, and I'm a huge fan of the Imperial Guard. And the Imperial Guard has a very high troop quality. Most of them are level 8 elite troops. No other troops in the game that I found, anyway, have troop ratings this high. In game terms, it makes them like Supermen. Um, and in this scenario, we're playing the basically what was the coup de grace of the Battle of Ligny. Um, the fighting for the town of Ligny started, I guess, around 2:30 p.m. On June 16th, 1815, and it was basically a fight between the Prussians defending the town and Gerards Corps on Napoleon's side, and it was a seesaw battle, back and forth, with neither side really gaining ground, and they fought for hours, basically to exhaustion on both sides. And I guess it was around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, 8 p.m. It says the time start is here. Napoleon wanted you know, this issue forced, and when Napoleon wanted issues forced, he called the Imperial Guard into action. Um, and because the Imperial Guard was blunt force trauma. That's what they delivered. The bayonet, they moved you, off a position. And that's basically what we're going to do here is we're basically going to go into Ligny and, sweep the Prussians from the field. Um, this is not like other scenarios you've seen me play where I carefully deploy skirmishers and, I'm very conscious of the casualties I take and um, how many losses I take versus how many losses I inflict. This is not going to be like that. This scenario is messy. Um, the scenario is 1 hour long, but the objective is actually very far away from where we start. It's all the way in the back of Ligny, and we start out kind of just east of Fleurus. Um, kind of halfway between Fleurus and Ligny. So we have a long way to march before we can even get into action. And when we do get into action, we still have a long way to go to get to the objective, and there are a lot of enemy troops between us and the objective. So basically, you're going to see me play, for lack of a better word, very recklessly. Um, I'm making use of the troop quality of the Imperial Guard because you're going to get uh, more charges out of them per unit because their morale is better and their troop quality is better. You're going to find that They generally win most of their charges. They inflict more casualties. Uh, that's not to say we're not going to take casualties. In fact, we're probably going to lose. I mean, I've already played the scenario, so I know, but we're going to lose, basically half our force, which is, absurd. The Imperial Guard did not lose half its force in the real battle. But the Imperial Guard in the real battle also didn't only have an hour to play, the scenario, and there was no objective they had to get to start racking up huge amounts of points. So that's one of the reasons you're going to see me play so recklessly. But the main goal is to clear the Prussians from Ligny and get to that objective and start racking up the points. So let's get to it. I'm going to start playing the video here. And basically it says, General Friant, the Emperor orders your division to give the coup de grace to the Prussian army. Drive your troops directly against the enemy in Ligny, break their line, and conquer the area north of town. The corps of General Gerard is already fighting since this afternoon for possession of the town. The heavy cavalry of Generals Milhaud and Guyot will support you. The bells, filets, the Emperor are already singing. Your second-in-command, General Roguet, told the troops, tell the grenadiers that the first man to bring me a Prussian prisoner will be shot. Conquer the area behind Ligny, press back the Prussians, and hold the locations against the counterattacks. Now, you can see where Ligny is. You see Petit, that's us, and the objective is way back behind Ligny. So we have a large number of men, somewhere near 6,000 men, and as I said, we're going to lose a lot of them. We need 4,000 points here for a major victory, and that's a lot of points. We need to get to that objective. If you guys want to read the biography here of Louis Friant, go ahead and pause the video. I'm not going to read it back to you. Okay, so the game is booting up. I'm not going to kind of fast forward and skip the way I did with the brigade wrap-up scenario. Because, there's no other video like there was with the brigade wrap-up scenario where you could actually, watch the whole thing. So I'm just going to let this run, and we'll see how I do commentating it. So here's our little courier. He's going to tell us what our orders are for the day. The reserve artillery de la Garde is already shooting at the enemy positions in and outside Ligny. Advance with your grenadiers and destroy the enemy. Vive l'Empereur. And that is from Gerards, the Chief of Staff of the Army of the North. So, okay, so I will close this, and the first thing I'm going to do here is put Friant on attack stance, and all the troops here you will see will deploy into, they're in column by division right now, and they're going to deploy into the assault columns. Sorry about the fact that the video bar is kind of cutting across the, oh there, I made it disappear, look at that. Alrighty, so I won't even touch the mouse again. Alright, so what I've basically done here is I'm just waiting for the grenadiers here to form up, and then I'm basically going to take command of Petit. He's the commander of the infantry. As Friant, he also controls some artillery, but I'm going to end up controlling them manually. So Friant is really just here kind of for show. And I will bring him in at the very end to occupy the objective, because the higher the rank of the leader occupying the objective, the more bonuses your subordinates get. And if I have Petit occupying the objective, only the infantry is going to get the bonuses. But if I have Friant occupying the objective, then the infantry and the artillery units under my command will all benefit from having the objectives. So I'm just waiting for them all to finish forming up here into their column by division, or assault columns here. And what I'm actually going to do is, rather than charge headlong into Ligny, because as soon as I set the, you see I'm taking command of Petit here, and I'm going to also put him on attack stance. And you'll see I'm going to move off the right flank of the Prussians. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because Gerard's corps is still basically fighting with the Prussians inside Ligny. And I have done the scenario both ways, where I basically just kind of charged into Ligny and tried to push Gerard out of the way so I can get at the Prussians. That's disorganized and very messy, but it's actually quicker to get to the objective than what I'm going to show you here. So I don't actually know which approach is better, going directly through Ligny or trying to outflank the Prussians. I will say going directly through Ligny is faster in terms of getting to the objective, but it's also a lot messier because the troops of Gerard are just kind of in your way, and it just, you know, you get tangled up in a town. So the more I can stay outside of the town, the better I think I can bring my forces to bear in a more cohesive way. So what I'm actually going to do is outflank the Prussians and basically cross the river below Ligny Castle and then turn and on their right flank and sweep them across the town. I'm also going to bring up some artillery to basically soften that side of the line up. And right now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of looking for a place to place them. So my first battery I'm going to kind of place right here. I do move them a little forward for, later on, you know, to start kind of softening up the Prussian right flank and to keep any troops from the Prussian side to kind of coming this way while my troops are moving up. And then I believe there's one more battery, and I think I moved them up to the other side of the castle so they can kind of fire directly into the front of the Prussians. And basically I'm just setting the stage here. And yeah, I'm just going to take Freon here because I don't want him to get, that's who I am in the game, is Freon. So I absolutely do not want to get him killed. So I'm, you know, I want to get him close enough so that I can bring him up to the objective rather quickly later on. But I don't want to get him so close right now that I go and get him killed because that would be tragic. The scenario's over, I died. So I bring him up and I just kind of stick him behind Ligny Castle, which is, you know, building right there with the 3,000 marker above it. Because we already control it and we're not really in danger of the Prussians kind of retaking it. So this is what I meant when we had kind of a long approach march, because I start out way far back and I have to kind of swing the Imperial Guard out to my left to get around the Prussian right. So basically what I'm doing here is while I'm marching, I'm just kind of watching what's going on with Gerards' corps here. I don't control any of them. All I control is the Imperial Guard and these two artillery batteries. But it would be rather boring to just sit there and watch them march the whole time. So I'm just double clicking Pettit so he kind of gets there first. Here I was just checking to see if I had any other artillery, because I'm always greedy for artillery. But no, it is only two batteries that I control. Although we will end up having more artillery because I'm going to charge a whole bunch of Prussian artillery and capture it. And when you capture artillery with infantry, you actually man the batteries against the troops from your whatever infantry battalion you captured it with, and they'll become French batteries. So I do actually end up with a lot more artillery than I start out with. The only pain in the butt about them is just they have no battery commander, so they're basically all just individual guns. So you kind of have to move around, gun by gun. So some of them I move around, and some of them I just kind of leave where they are. But here I'm just showing you what's going on. Gerard's corps is kind of on the right side, or on the southern side of the creek, while the Prussians pretty much hold the northern side of the creek, and they do have a few troops on the southern side of it. And what's Gerard's corps basically has been fighting at this point all day long. But the scenario doesn't actually show that. They all start out, you know, as fresh troops. Um, so basically, this is like, you know, a brand new fight. Even though, you know the Battle of Ligny, you know, Gerards Corps fought for Ligny for pretty much most of the day. It's 8 p.m. at this point, so they've been fighting for quite a while. One of the big things that's going to help us out in this scenario is the French cavalry is going to outflank Ligny on both the west and the east side. We're going to have cavalry coming in. So while I need to get to the objective quickly, I don't want to get there so quickly that I'm dealing with a lot of Prussian cavalry on my own, which is infantry, and no French cavalry. So it's kind of a delicate balance as far as how fast to push forward. Because if you push too far forward and you have a lot of Prussian cavalry in your face, and you have none of your own cavalry, you're pretty much going to get stuck in square, which is okay if there's no Prussian infantry around. And that situation will happen later on, where there's a little bit of Prussian cavalry that kind of gets me stuck in square. So here I'm deploying one of my artillery batteries, basically behind these two infantry battalions. And again, what I'm just trying to do is soften up the Prussian right. It's not too heavily held, especially from the direction I'm going to be attacking from, but there is a battery of artillery back there, and there's actually further back another battery of artillery. So I'm going to need to capture those, and that's one of my main objectives when I cross the creek, is to actually capture those Prussian batteries. First, because if I don't capture them, they're going to wallop me with canister fire, and as I've already talked about, even in the stock game, canister hurts, and you can't eat it for too long because your score will just plummet. So here you see the Imperial Guard is marching into position, and for maneuverability's sake, I actually I'm deploying them in column of line, which is basically line infantry stacked one behind the other, which is a formation I use when I just want to keep my my position kind of compact. If I were to deploy these guys in, you know, like an assault column, it would be a very wide line, and I want to really control my angle of attack and kind of keep it narrow, at least at first. As I said, I have somewhere around, you know, 5,500 infantry, and I'm going to lose a lot of them. You know, I push them very, very hard, and even, you know, very high quality troops like the Imperial Guard can only take so much when I'm going to be pushing them much harder than I really should if I was concerned about things like soldiers' lives or something. But no, this is just a video game, and these are not real soldiers, so I am going to push like a maniac to get to the objective as fast as I can, and casualties be damned, because the casualties I'm going to take, while they are a lot, they are significant, I still inflict more casualties than I take. And whatever I lose in casualties, I will make back just by getting to the objective quickly, because it's every minute it's something like 150 points. It might even be 200 points. I forget. So you can see the Prussian artillery there blasting those two French battalions in front of my artillery there with canister fire, and you'll hear it. It has a very distinctive sound when they fire canister, and it does a lot of damage. They will not stand for long with canister fire blasting it. So I'm just waiting for my my infantry to finish moving into position here, and then I will basically cross the creek while my artillery there right to the right of me is screening me, and I will then turn right and basically charge into everything in my front. No finesse of any kind, just pure blunt force trauma is what we're going for here. So there we go. I'm positioning the division to move in. I'm still going to use the column of line here, and basically it will be my first 3 or 4 battalions that are going to do the brunt of the damage in this right flank portion of the Prussian line, and they will lose a lot of men, but they will also inflict a lot of damage. Basically, we're going to sweep pretty much up to the crossroads by that bridge there, and then I'll regroup and I'll start hitting the artillery in the back there. And the objective, as you can see, is all the way in the back there behind Ligny, that little gold piece there. And that's what we have to get to. And as you can see, we've already spent 13 minutes just on the approach march. We haven't fired a shot or taken a casualty yet for our infantry. And we've only got about 45 minutes left in the scenario. So this is why I say I have to, once I get in a position, I'm going to attack at a breakneck pace. Basically, yeah, be really reckless. And that's kind of what you have to do in this scenario, because you only have a limited amount of time. You need to get to the objective at least with 30 minutes or so left to really rack up enough points for a major victory. I think you need like 4,000 points, which is a lot. So you need to get there quickly, and you can't do that by playing it safe. You got to use the Imperial Guard for what the Imperial Guard is used for. Like I said, blunt force trauma, the bayonet, the cold steel. Move them off their position, make them move. That's basically what we're trying to do here. And I'm just moving my supply wagon there kind of up to the artillery just to keep them in ammo. Alright, so my infantry is deploying. Now, we've taken a few casualties from not the artillery that we're going to be charging into, but these batteries back here are close enough that they are starting to inflict a few casualties on us. But as we have 5,300 men, so we can afford to take a few casualties, and we're going to take a lot more. So here we go. I am going to advance the division basically right on the Prussian flank here, and then charge like a maniac. Basically, I'm just going to mash the charge button and watch my division go flying off in all directions, charging everything. And I want to be, because I have so many troops, it's a large body of troops, I don't want to get them wrapped up in town fighting. So even though I am going to sweep into the kind of the right side of the town here, I'm not going to stay there after I kind of handle my business, because Gerards' corps, as I clear it, will come through. And here you see I'm taking canister fire, my score's plummeting. It's time to charge and kind of sweep this artillery off the grid here. Although we're really actually going to capture it. I mean, look at that. I was minus 57, and now I'm minus 78. I mean, that's what canister does at close range. It makes your score plummet. So now I'm basically charging and capturing these Prussian batteries, and I'm going to turn them into French batteries. And this is where it can start to get messy, because I'm basically trying to make the whole division charge. Rather than charging individual battalions. I want them to hit as many targets as possible. This is completely reckless to do this, to actually just, do what I'm doing, mass charge, and have the, just battalion after battalion after battalion just charging, and, not really so much paying attention to what they're charging, but I'm basically just relying on the troop quality of the Imperial Guard to overcome whatever it is they end up charging. And for the most part they do a good job, but you will see even some of these level 8 elite units will eventually rout because I'm just pushing them way too hard. But, you know, I don't need to get to the objective with 5,000 men. You know, I just need to get there with a couple of battalions and get a hold on. You know, so like I said, this is messy. But keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward. Okay, so now a lot of these guns are now French, so some of the canister fire you hear will actually be the French using canister fire against the Prussians. Looks like I am charging this skirmisher unit. I'm going to run them off. And just chaos happening. Got one of my units retreating here. I have no idea if they're routed or if they're just retreating. So basically at this point now we've kind of cleared out the right side of Ligny. These guys here are charging a little unit, and the guys to the right are charging into the rear of the Prussians on the north side of the creek, which for some reason I'm not showing here. I'm showing a little skirmisher out here. But, yep, just mash the charge button. Hit everything you can, like a maniac. And there I go. Charging the Prussians. They're running. Now, here's where I screw up. I should not have gone this far, because now I'm about to get charged by Prussian cavalry, and I'm stuck in a melee, so there's nothing I can do. Luckily, the Prussians retreat, but now I'm meleeing cavalry, which is just really dumb. And they routed. I can't say I blame them. You know, meleeing cavalry, just never do that. That's just dumb. But like I said, I'm being pretty reckless here. But regardless, most of the right side of Ligny is cleared out now. The cavalry is coming in on both sides of the flank, so I'm getting some backup. And Gerards' corps will begin to push forward. So basically I'm trying to regroup what I've got left here. I've already taken 860 casualties. I'm down to 3,900 troops. But I've inflicted 1,194 casualties. So I'm still getting the better of this. But as I said, messy, messy, messy. So we have to get these Prussian cannon, because I can't get kind of past towards the objective with them on my flank. That's what happens. They just blow canister fire into you, and it's devastating. So I have to deal with these guys. Normally when you approach a battery of artillery from the front, you're gonna catch it. But you know, I have a lot of troops, and it's just really necessary to get these guns out of here, or you know, capture them and turn them into French artillery, which will also help me. There's also some infantry to the right of me here, and I have to get them out of there. So do what you do, guards. Charge, 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 charge. So what a mess. What a mess. You can see they're just and you know, I'm gonna get myself in trouble again here, I can tell, because I see some Prussian cavalry. Luckily it looks like they're moving off. But here comes some more Prussian cavalry. And I've butchered these two Prussian units here, and now I am going to get these guns. Now the guns are actually trying to withdraw. Had they actually stayed put and, you know, slammed me with canister with all those guns, they might have turned this unit around. They might have routed it, but instead they're actually trying to withdraw, and they're not hooked up to their horses. A couple of them just did. So I'm basically having an easy time capturing these guns because they're not really getting the hell out of here like they should be. Some of them are getting out of there, but I captured enough guns that you know, I at least now have some artillery support. And I have no idea what other kind of chaos is going on here. And here, once again, it's time to try and regroup my units. And, you know, as you can see, a lot of casualties. I've taken 1,300 casualties. I've inflicted almost 2,000. And every time I get hit by canister fire, I'm like, oh, I see some more Prussian guns, and I charge them. And like I said, no other set of troops could charge this many charges and get away with it without just being completely routed. But the Imperial Guard are, you know, super troops. You know, they're very high quality troops, so you're going to be able to basically abuse them more than you would any other set of troops in the game, as far as being reckless and having them, you know, basically carry out your orders. You know, they're just really tough troops. So we are slowly pushing the Prussians back. You can see the objective is in an attainable range now. And you will start to see me slow my attack now that, you know, we're 20 minutes into the scenario. I know at this point I'm going to get to the objective because I'm close enough now, you know, that's basically on the screen with me. There's still some Prussian artillery we have to deal with. There's Prussian cavalry that's going to basically force me into square, but by the time they do, I will have reached the objective. And I have some artillery. I'll capture this artillery, turn it into French artillery, and, you know, I'll be in square blasting the cavalry, and I'll have artillery backing me up. And some French cavalry is also coming in behind me. You can see some of them right there on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And here's one of my guard units. Yeah, they routed. It happens, but those are level 7 veteran troops. They're not quite as high quality. These guys are, you know, these guys are elite. These are the good troops. Yeah, so not every unit in the guard here is elite, but, you know, most of them are 7 or 8. So I'm just basically charging. And I have lost a lot of men at this point. You know, I am really pushing the guard hard here. And I think I'm looking back here because, yeah, I know they're routed. But I'll get to a certain point here where I'll kind of stop trying to push forward kind of so hard and look to establish more of a defensive position. When I get in range of the objective, you'll see me start to do that. And those 2 batteries that I had set up back there on either side of the castle, I will bring them forward. There's some Prussian guns blowing canister into me. We can't let that happen. So, well, luckily there's some artillery coming in on my cavalry coming in on there on my left, and the French cavalry is actually pretty decent in this game, or in this scenario, at hunting down artillery. They take care of it pretty well. When cavalry captures artillery, though, it just surrenders and disappears. You don't get to turn it into French artillery. So whenever I get the chance, I do try to capture artillery with infantry, so I can turn them into French artillery. So I've got 1 unit on the right there in square formation at this point, because you can see there's some cavalry still hanging around up there. And you can see a lot of Prussian infantry is turning to square too, because off the northeast side of the screen French cavalry is coming in on that side
side of Ligny as well. So I have a lot of other troops here helping me out besides just what I've got going on here with the guard. And eventually the battle will actually just get pushed way back past my position, and I'll end up just sitting on the objective and not much going on. So another charge here. We've driven off some more Prussian infantry. I cannot believe how many charges you get out of the guard. It's just crazy. Just charge, 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 charge. Can't do that with, you know, normal troops. They're just, you only get like 2 or 3 charges out of them before they're done. But the guard is pretty ridiculous when it comes to this. So I'm just capturing some more Prussian artillery. And these guys I capture here actually help me out quite a bit, because I end up forming a line kind of diagonal from the hedges to over there where the square is to the objective. And that artillery that I capture on the left side of there really ends up paying dividends before I bring up the 2 batteries by the castle. So, alright, at this point I'm like, I think I can get the objective. So let me, basically I'm going to take what few battalions I have left, and I think I'm down to about 4 or 5 out of the, 10 I had at the beginning. So yeah, I lost a lot of troops. Probably more than the Emperor would have wanted me to. But you know what? This is a video game. I don't have to answer to the Emperor. He's been dead for 200 years. So I'm going to basically start to form up a line here. Kind of a defensive line, and this cavalry is going to end up forcing a lot of it into square. So now you see I have occupied the objective, and let the points commence. Let them rain from the sky. So we've got almost 2,000 points just from inflicting casualties. So we need to suck about 2,300 points out of this objective, and I think it's worth either 150 points a minute or 200 points a minute. I am not exactly sure. So we need to get about 2,000 more points to get a major victory. And I'm pretty confident at this point we can do that, because we've got 30 minutes. I did this all in a half an hour, basically half the scenario, and I've got the objective. So it cost me a lot to get here, you know, a lot of casualties. But now you can see I have some French cavalry on my side. I've got artillery, you know. So I'm going to start to use some combined arms, and you see I'm forming lines so I can shoot into the square. And I've got some artillery that's going to shoot into the square canister range, which is devastating. So they are not going to stand there long. Although, you know, now my cavalry is running away, so these guys will be free to form line again as soon as the cavalry gets out of range. And I'm basically swinging around. There they go. As soon as the cavalry is gone, they'll form line again. I wish they'd come back and just stand there. I don't need them to do anything. Just keep that unit square. But they have a mind of their own. I'm not in control of them, so they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do. But it doesn't really matter, because I have, you know, artillery right here. You know, even one or two guns, you know, blasting canister, you know, into this infantry is going to make a mess of them real quick. So these battalions on the right here are forming square because of the cavalry, the Prussian cavalry squadron at the crossroads there. And I'm not actually taking charge of a lot of these units. I'm basically commanding them from the brigade commander. I will take charge of a unit occasionally just to move them to a better position. But with all the action going on, in, you know, kind of a wide field of view, if I take charge of units, my eyes can't be everywhere at once. So, you know, if I take charge of a unit and it's in line and some of this Prussian cavalry gets too close to it and I'm not paying attention, they're defenseless because they have no AI under a take charge situation. And you have to keep your eyes on them at all times. So in this instance where there's a lot going on in a wide field of view where I can't have my eyes everywhere, I will keep them all on AI, because the AI will respond to those kind of threats.
even if I'm not paying attention, even if I'm off somewhere doing something else. As you can see, one of these units, the left square there, was originally in line a second ago, and I had my eyes doing something else, and now they're a square because some cavalry approached them and got within range, and the AI said, "Oop, time to form square." What I've done while I had my attention turned, what I was doing was I'm bringing up the artillery batteries now that I had on either side of the castle there, and I'm trying to bring some combined arms into this at this point. I have some cavalry back here. They're not under my control, but they're back here, and basically I'm trying to bring some artillery up so I can start to pound away on the Prussian positions directly in front of me. This is one of my units I just moved out of the hedgerows, and I kind of just want to put them over by the artillery, just as protection, really. Just because that's the only artillery I have up here right now, and they're just a couple of guns, so I really don't want to lose them because they're putting in serious service right now, bombing away on this infantry in front of me. And I'm in square because of the cavalry at the crossroads here. And while the Prussian units are in line, they're able to put 100% of their fire at me. But because I'm in square, I'm only able to put 25% of my firepower at them, which is basically the side of the square facing them. So, I'm bringing up artillery to kind of equalize the situation here, because I don't want to get stuck in a situation where I'm in a square trading fire with line infantry or skirmishers or anything like that for a long period of time, because I will start to get the worst of that. I'm doing okay right now because I have artillery on the left side of me that's firing canister into the infantry, and this Prussian artillery here, they want to get to that artillery, but they kind of got to ride past 3 squares to do it, and the artillery will be blasting them too. So they keep kind of trying to move forward and then thinking better of it. So what a mess we have going on here, right? But we've made it to the objective. We are getting points from it. You can tell we have our little French flag. And really we're just trying to sit tight until the rest of the French cavalry, you can see them coming in on the top of the screen there, starts to sweep these guys from the rear. And, we can see we've got more cavalry coming up here from behind me. And we are at, okay, this is what I was talking about now. No, that's the wrong button. Go back, dummy. You gotta get yes. You want Friant. There you go. And at this point now, I'm going to bring Friant to occupy the objective. So you always kind of want to bring the most senior officer that you have under your control to occupy the objective, because it just ends up being more points, because he's gaining points not just from the infantry but from the artillery too that I have under my command, while the Pettit, the infantry commander, is only getting points for the infantry. So yeah, I'm moving Friant up, and sometimes I just look away and start seeing what else is going on the battlefield, especially when I feel like I've got the situation in hand, which I feel like I have right now. So occasionally you will see me just kind of roam the camera off somewhere else just to see what's going on. You can see a lot of the Prussians are now withdrawing out of Ligny, and Gerards' corps is pushing forward. They've got most of Ligny under their control at this point. They're still in the town, but you can see most of Ligny is under French control now. So here come my guns. Come on, little guns. And I'm bringing them up to start really pounding away at the Prussian position in front of me to help my squares out. I'm actually bringing 2 batteries up. I'm going to set one up on the left and kind of one up on the right. And I will move them around as the battle pushes further back. You can see some French cavalry on the left side of the screen there. Where they are really pushing far ahead there. And a couple of squadrons are coming back. So slowly but surely, the Prussians are starting to withdraw. I'm bringing up the big guns. So it looks like I'm just down to like 4 battalions. I have the 3 squares here. That square on the right in the hedges there, that's not me, because the Imperial Guard flags look a little different. So yeah, I have 3 squares, and I have that 1 battalion in line off to the left there. There they go, moving into position. So I have lost a lot of men in this attack. I went from like 10 battalions to 4. But, you know, 4 is enough. I'm at the objective, and I have it. As Napoleon said, the field of glory is never a pretty sight. I don't know if Napoleon actually said that, but he certainly said it in the movie. And there's Friant. He's now made it to the objective. And we are at 3,000 points. So we need about 1,000 more points, and we've got 20 minutes with which to do. No problem. So you can see the line, the Prussians are being pushed further back now. In fact, they're getting to the point where they're not really a danger to me anymore. The last of the Prussian cavalry is withdrawing. Oh, we got some French running away here. That's not my voice. That's Schaefer's brigade from Gerards. So these little individual guns that I've captured, I'm gonna bring some of them up and just kind of put them between the squares. So they're protected by the squares from any of this Prussian cavalry if they decide to charge, although I think all the fight has gone out of them at this point. You know, and I still have some artillery up front to blast away. And that is the sound of French canister fire. So mostly what I'm going to do now here is just kind of sit back and watch the action. The action is moving kind of past me at this point, and the Prussians are being swept back towards Saint-Bref more. I've got some French cavalry out on my left there. My right is pretty secure because, you know, all of Gerards' corps is there. You can see French cavalry moving in on the top of the screen there from the other side of Ligny. So, you know, even though I still have a sizable Prussian force in front of me, they're being pushed back, and, you know, they're going to continue to get pushed further back. And once they're out of range, I'll get out of these squares and, you know, assume a more dignified posture for the guard. What's left of them? It's a good thing I don't have to fight Waterloo after this. And coming here, we have a little French cavalry charge. And they're charging infantry and cavalry. So I don't think they're going to get the best of this. I mean, I'm sure they'll run the infantry off, but see what happens when they hit the Prussian horse here. Oh, they drove the Prussian horse off too. Good lads. Yeah, but they're pulling back too. But hey, you know, they did a good job. They pushed off some infantry and some cavalry. So I don't mind if they take a breather after that. So here I'm just kind of looking around on the field. This is Bry, and we're looking towards Saint Armand La Haye and Wagnally over there. And I'm just kind of seeing what's going on other parts of the field. But it doesn't look like there's anything behind me at this point. Most of the Prussians have been swept kind of eastward. And I'm starting to push the artillery a little further forward. This, you can't really tell from this angle because you know, I'm obviously playing with the 100-foot general view here, but this is kind of an upward slope if you look at it from ground view. So in order to keep the enemy in sight of the guns, I keep having to push them forward a little bit so they can see up the slope. The terrain elevations, you know, aren't always so obvious with this helicopter view I have here. I have some French cavalry sitting right inside my square, which looks terrible. I wish they'd pick someplace else to go. So these are some of the Prussian guns that I captured, and slowly start bringing them up, you know, kind of gun by gun. And because they're captured, they don't have a battery commander, so I can't just move them in this. I kind of have to move them gun by gun, which is really irritating. You would think I could, you know, drop off a lieutenant or something to command the battery, but I guess not. Not to mention they don't have horses either, so they can't limber. They actually have to manually roll their guns all the way up there, which takes forever. You know, they have the caissons and they have the guns, but they have no horses. So you can kind of see at the top of the screen there the kind of a mass exodus of Prussians here. They are pulling back. At this point, they have an overwhelming French force in front of them, coming out of Ligny, and the cavalry on the east side coming across the creek. So, time to pull back. Not to mention these brave lads out here who are just way out in front. But, you know, they're forcing these Prussian units to stay in square, while Gerards' corps kind of pushes forward at them. And finally, the cavalry that was sitting in my square found they had something better to do, and off they went. So yeah, you'd think it would be weird that this would be one of my favorite scenarios, but it's just such a messy bloodbath. That I just like playing it. I just like being a reckless maniac. And my friends, the French cavalry, are back. Hopefully they don't park themselves in a square again. This unit here that's running is going to catch hell from these cannon. They're just firing canister right into them. Oh, look at that. A lone Prussian gun behind me. But I will not have to deal with them for long, because if you noticed, way in the back behind that gun was 2 squadrons of French cavalry approaching them from the rear. So they're not going to stay there for long. So at this point, the fighting has moved so far past my front that these guns I have in the back here are going to need to be brought up to continue to do any damage. And I think what I'm basically doing is thinking about where I'm going to place them. And I think at first I move them kind of just in front of those 2 right squares, but later I bring them way out, basically in front of the objective. Yes, my eyes do not deceive me. It is indeed a lone Prussian cannon firing at my rear. I'm going to take this last gun and kind of point it at them, but I see the French cavalry back there. I know I'm not going to have to deal with them for long. Plus, I think all this artillery over here is firing at that gun too. You know, so they're kind of outmatched. But no, I'm greedy for artillery. Gotta bring them forward. Gotta bring them forward. You can never have too many guns. That's just the way I feel about it. You can always find a good place for a gun. And there's a scenario or two in this game where I pretty much win solely by using artillery. So we are now at 4,200 points. We have passed what we need for a major victory. So this battle is won. And we still got, 12 minutes left? So, I forget what I got up to about here. It's definitely over 5,000 points. So I've played this scenario many times. This wasn't one of my cleanest runs through it. I've definitely done better as far as losing less men. But a win is a win. In fact, it's probably one of the worst. Certainly the sloppiest I ever played this scenario. But, you know, I didn't want to just, you know, I could have just, you know, done one until I got it, you know, until I got a good result. But I don't want to just put up perfect, you know, perfect playthroughs, because one, that's not always going to happen, and it would make me look better than I really am. So this was a rather sloppy playthrough of this scenario. I lost, you know, 2/3 of my force, which, you know, if this was real, that would be completely unacceptable. You know, you know, I decimated the Great Empire. I lost, you know, 6 battalions out of 10. But, you know, objectives, you know, that's what wins the scenarios in this game. Objectives, not, you know, how many men you kill or how many men you lose. You know, it's objectives that really win you the scenario. You kind of got to do whatever you got to do to get to them. You know, and this is just one where, you know, it starts off, you know, very far away, and you kind of got to be a maniac to get to it. I mean, maybe you don't have to be as much of a maniac as, you know, I was here in losing as, you know, as many men as I did. I always tend to try and get to the objective as fast as humanly possible, because, you know, you're never sure, you know, how many points you're going to get out of it. You know, the faster you get there, the better chance you have of racking enough points for a major victory. But in this instance, you need 4,000 points for a major victory. And I think I end up with somewhere around 5,500 points, you know, way more than I needed for a major victory. So I probably could have been a little more cautious in, you know, how fast I tried to approach it and get to it. But in the end, I guess it doesn't really matter because these aren't real soldiers, they're little digital sprites. Nobody's really dying. So there go my guns. I'm advancing them further up, as you can see. And really just to be able to keep hitting the enemy, because as I said, this is kind of an upward slope, and I kind of need to keep pushing the guns forward to keep hitting the enemy. And artillery is actually a pretty good source of points. You know, these guys have almost 400 points already. I think this battery on the left is probably creeping up on 200 points. You know, so it's a good way to rack up points when you're not really engaged in combat, or when you already have an objective and really can't push forward any further. You know, if we actually tried to participate in, and all my troops are probably pretty well rested at this point. They've been sitting here doing nothing. You know, so you know, if we wanted to, you know, we could assist in the pursuit of the Prussians here, but that would pull us off the objective and we'd stop earning points from it. So kind of once you hit an objective, you pretty much have to stop and just hold your position. So here comes some more. The cavalry has driven off that that one gun. We have some more artillery. None of these guys are under my control, but they're just coming forward. And there's no more Prussian cavalry anywhere near me, so I can get out of these squares now, and I'm just going to kind of line up in my little column of lines deployment here. You'll notice it's a lot smaller than it was at the beginning of the scenario. Literally, I lost about 2/3 of my force. Totally unacceptable. The Emperor would not be pleased to hear that I trashed his Imperial Guard in such a manner. You know, especially since he's really going to need him 2 days from now at Waterloo. Thank God this isn't a carryover scenario. I'd be in real trouble if I needed the guard again. What do we got? We're down to 2,800 men out of 5,300. Ouch. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to having to write out my battle report to the Emperor on this one. Well, sire, we won, but I destroyed your guard. And this is probably about where I'm thinking about moving the artillery even further forward. I don't know why I bothered. There's 5 minutes left in the scenario, but I love eking out as many points as I can get. And you know, I actually think they do deploy, and I actually do start shooting with them. These cavalry are just running through my guns like they're not there. So the rest of the French force did pretty good. You know, once I got to the objective, I pretty much stopped trying to push forward. I've gotten what I've came for. But as you can see, the Prussians have been pushed back a lot and are basically kind of getting bottled up by the French cavalry, and Gerard, the remnants of Gerard's corps. Um, and basically, at this point, everybody's out of Ligny, I think. There's nothing but bodies in there. There's a few units still in there, but there's no more, fighting anywhere near there. The action has really moved back, kind of past my front at this point. You see it's starting to get a little dark out. At this point, it's almost 9 o'clock at night. We are in June, so the days are longer, so it's not pitch black yet, but you can see it's starting to get dark. And that's pretty much it. Not much more is going to happen in 3 minutes here. Just setting up my guns to let them fire away just to contribute whatever it is they can contribute at this distance. The Prussians, here's a good view of the slope of what I mean, why I have to keep pushing the guns forward, because you can see the Prussians at the top there, but they're backing up so fast that they keep kind of disappearing from view. So I had to keep pushing the guns forward to kind of keep the Prussians in view there. Lots of French cavalry on the field. Look at all those bodies. What a bloodbath. Those are all me. That's the other 6 battalions there. They're on the ground back there. So here we are, down to the 1 minute mark. 5,500 points. Way more than I need. I probably could have been a little more cautious. Had I been content with maybe 4,200 points, I probably, could have kept another 2 or 3, battalions on the field instead of, dead on the field. And we're winding down here. At 10 more seconds. The Prussians are way off in the distance now. And 19 had nearly 2,000 casualties. But who am I to argue with the game? The game says it's a major victory, so it's a major victory. So we inflicted 3,500 or 3,600 enemy casualties, and we took almost 2,000 casualties of our own. That is certainly the most casualties I've ever taken in this scenario. This was probably my worst played playthrough of this scenario. I actually played the scenario a couple of days ago, where I played it headquarters in the saddle, which is basically your camera is locked to the officer. You can't move it. You can move up a little bit, but you can turn and change your point of view, but you can't just go kind of flying all over the battlefield like you're in a helicopter, like you see me do here. And when I played at hits, I didn't lose this many men. So this was definitely one of my worst playthroughs. It's only a major victory because I got to the objective and sucked up a lot of points. But I got a lot of men killed. I mean, the Emperor is not going to be pleased with this performance. But you know, hey, at least it was exciting, right? So, all right, that's it for this episode. I think for the next episode, we're going to go over. This is the only divisional scenario in Ligny, so I think we're going to go over to Quatre Bras, and there's a couple of division scenarios for Quatre Bras. There's the Bachelor's assault on the Namur Road for the Namur Road for the French, and Picton's defense of the Namur Road for the Allies. So those are two division scenarios, and then we will head back to Waterloo, and there's quite a few divisional scenarios in there too. But before that, I'm going to be doing a video on Sunday where I'm actually going to be playing a multiplayer game using the KS mod and playing with the Kriegspiel guys, and that should be pretty exciting because it's totally different than what you've seen me be doing here. It's extreme fog of war, uh, and playing locked to the saddle, and I'll go into more detail when I do the video, but it's going to be way different than anything you've seen me do here uh, in these stock scenarios. So it should be pretty exciting. But that's it for now, guys.